Can you name a black and white film that is developed in colour chemicals? If you said XP2, then you are correct, and it is XP2 that today we are going to spend a little bit of time on. Quick one before we get started, if you like film photography and want to see more videos like this one, film reviews, tips and tricks, that kind of thing, then please do make sure you're subscribed to our channel and notifications are turned on. Thank you so much. Ilford XP2 is the second Ilford 35mm film that we've covered in the Wonderbox, but it is very different to the FP4 we've already talked about. XP2 is very rare in black and white for one reason: it is developed in C41 colour chemicals. Now that is frankly a technical feature of the film, but let's talk about what that means before we then go into how that affects how we shoot and what it means for the results that we get. It is chromogenic rather than silver halide film, which means it requires the dyes in the developer in order to deliver the final image. Now, one thing we know about colour native films is a very wide exposure latitude. So this film, unlike a lot of black and white films, can cope with being shot ISO 50 to ISO 800 and developed as though it was 400 while still delivering a great image, i.e. you don't necessarily need to push and pull the film in order to develop it despite under or overexposing it. Now it is rated at 400 because that is the optimal balance between sharpness and grain. When you overexpose it, you actually get finer grain but less sharpness. When you underexpose, the opposite happens. What this means if you shoot at a scene then that spans several different relative ISOs, i.e. the exposure varies quite a lot, is you'll get slightly different densities across the negative, but also it means you can shoot across one roll of film, dark, light, some at 50, some at 800, some at 200, and you can develop it as one and get good results. Now of course, again, there'll be different looks from frame to frame if you do that, but at least it is possible. The other hugely helpful thing about this technology versus standard black and white is that if you scan at home, you'll be familiar with digital ICE, image compression and enhancement, or cleaning and enhancement. Basically what this does is the scanner looks through your film and then looks again using light waves that can cut through colour dyes. What that does is it spots dust, because dust obviously blocks all waves of light. It's nothing to do with the colour. Black and white films, the silver in black and white films, also block that light, so you can't use digital dust removal with normal black and white. You can with XP2. So if you home scan and you find dust really annoying, then that again is a really nice reason to be using this. We've talked a lot about the technical capabilities, and I think that is important, but now let's think about what it means for us as film photographers. It means, as we've already said, you do not have to worry too much about the contrast. You don't have to worry too much about nailing the exposure quite as much, because this film will be able to compensate for you. On the flip side, that means that you are not going to get super contrasty images. This is the opposite of, when we talked about Metropolis. Metropolis, very contrasty film. If you aim it at a contrasty scene, you will blow everything black, white, and very little in the middle. This will do the opposite. You can aim it at a very contrasty scene and it will dial that down. You aim it at quite a flat scene and it runs the risk of possibly looking quite flat. So just being aware of that. Now what this does mean, of course, is that if you're in a situation of high contrast, bright lights, or a dramatic sunset, or shadows, or silhouettes, then this film is going to be really brilliant at getting a well-balanced film across the whole piece. So from a creative point of view, this gives you a very different way of looking at the world and a different opportunity to shoot photos than you would otherwise do. Personally, I think what I'm going to do with it when I get my Wonderbox with XP2 is I will be playing around with the different amounts of light hitting the film. I'm going to try underexposing, I'm going to try overexposing, I might even do a few brackets, expecting, unlike normal brackets where you'll get maybe one or two that's totally wrong and one in the middle that's perfect, what I'm looking for is 3 or 4 images, maybe portraits, 3 or 4 images that all look well balanced but have different levels of sharpness and grain to really understand that difference in the film. I think that's definitely going to be, for me, the big learning film for this. Final point on the convenience of this film: because it's C41, many high street labs will be able to develop this on site if they have that facility. So for folks who either see 41 at home a lot or go to a lab that can do C41 in-house, this will be a lot faster and cheaper than if you have to send it off for black and white. Of course, the opposite's true if you're a black and white aficionado and have all of the kit at home, but I'm sure you'll be able to cope either way. So very much a convenient black and white film, but do not let that trick you into thinking that this is a basic film or a simple film. The flexibility, the latitude should make it really, really interesting. And as I say, the other things, easy dust removal, easier and cheaper developing, should be seen pretty much as a nice little bonus. If you are a Wonderbox subscriber, I would love to hear your experiences. I'd love to hear whether you're planning on experimenting with a Latitude like myself or whether you have a specific shoot in mind. If you've shot this film before, subscriber or no, then please let me know what you think. Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy the convenience? And then aside from that, did you enjoy the results that you got? If you have enjoyed this video and enjoy watching the film reviews, then please do subscribe and look forward to next week's Film of the Week. Thank you so much.